Peace and joy, guys. Welcome back to another video. Drumhiller Farms. Hey, you can see the landscape has changed and our duties on the farm then have changed as well, because different things have to be done in the winter to prevent water from freezing, and we will be feeding hay. Right now we're at a point where we're letting them graze the leftover grass that's in the pastures, as well as feeding one bale of hay. So this next rotation, we're actually going around one rotation and feeding one bale of hay per day. We generally, for a herd our size, will feed 2 of the round bales of hay per day for our herd size. But with them having a little bit of grass out there still, and they're still grazing on it, we will be able to go this whole rotation and only feed 1 round bale. We're still moving them every day, so actually that's really helping our hay consumption. I figure if we get a 30 to 35 day rotation on this last go around, that's gonna save us somewhere around 30 to 35 bales of hay. So that's a big deal when each round bale costs you somewhere between $50 and $60 a piece. That's a pretty good savings, and we are not taking enough of the grass to leave the ground bare. We're still leaving our litter bank, and what that is the thatch in the ground that covers the soil. We are still leaving that intact, and we're just grazing the grass so far down to where we don't have to worry about taking and leaving the ground bare. But today I'm going to go down into all of our well houses, and I'm going to add heat lamps, because our temperatures are getting down into the low 20s, almost to teens. The wind is blowing really hard. It's just a matter of plugging this in. I got this one underneath this pump that I keep in this well house. Something kind of cool about this particular well house, I don't think I've showed you guys, but that's why I keep this pump in here, is because in this hose I dropped an 1.5 inch copper line next to our well here when we did this, and I can actually suck out about, well, I can fill up these water tanks that I was using on a lease farm before we got water out there. That's a 1,500 gallon tank that I installed on an old gravity wagon, and actually I can pull enough water out of this well to where I can fill up that 1,500 gallons in a matter of about 12 to 15 minutes. So, and then I can hook up to that with my truck or tractor and pull it out to the field, and you know, you've got about 1.5 days worth of water for our herd size out there. Oh, hey, boo-boo. What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? You like the snow, don't you? Yeah, she does like the snow. We got one more well that we need to put one in, and we also need to get the tank heater installed into the bull's water, because I'm sure they have frozen water as well, and it's just easier with only 2 bulls. Another thing that we are going to be doing in this video is we're going to be separating a finished steer that's going to be going to processing today, as well as one cull cow. A cull cow is somebody that is a cow that is in the herd that you are going to be getting rid of. So one of your mama cows that has reached her lifespan. I see that she is in her cycle, which I'm glad that she didn't get bred, which is kind of giving us this opportunity to call her. She did not get bred, and so therefore we are going to call her from the herd, and probably has a lot to do with the fact that she was so far out of condition when the bull was in there from her calf sucking on her so hard. In the grass-fed beef business, or any beef cattle, if you have a beef cow that produces a huge milk sack and a ton of milk for their calf, it's really not a good trait, because it actually pulls the cow out of conditioning and therefore taking away from her conditioning going into winter. You know, that's a great trait for a dairy cow. You want them to produce as much milk as possible, but with a beef cow, you just want to have them give their calf enough milk that they need and not produce any more. And when they're putting all their energy into producing milk, it takes away from everything else, them being able to be rebred and so on. All right, I don't know if you can see from the video, but we did roll out a round bale here last night. But what you're noticing right now is they're out there grazing. There's still quite a bit of grass. You can see in the paddock that they have not been over at yet. There is quite a bit of grazing still left to be done. There's not a ton of ice on there this morning. You can see that water's going to spray on that, and groundwater stays about 55 to 56 degrees, so that'll melt that ice and they'll have nice water the rest of the day. Let's go out here and take a look at what they have been eating on. You can see everybody's pretty content. Nobody's hollering at us. If they were hungry, they would really be hollering at us, telling us. How you doing, Bubba? Nice looking young bull, huh? Nice little pose for us. Thank you. Look at those cow pads. That's when you know your cattle are still in great condition going into winter. That's almost a perfect cow pad right there. No, nothing standing up on end. And I'll tell you, if you guys got cattle and their manure is standing 2-3 inches up off the ground, those are cattle that are losing condition. Look at her. I'd say she's in great condition still. Look at the brisket on her. 59. She's still grazing. And there's still quite a bit of grass out here. There's some grass that's probably 12 inches tall yet. So I'm feeling really good about this. Generally, when the time change happens and we come out to start feeding hay, we just feed hay the rest of the winter. And we will kind of feed hay in a field like this. You know, we might feed 25-30 bales before we leave them out of here. So this will be our first year keeping them moving even in the winter. We don't want them to take it all. We want them to leave a good cover for the ground over the winter. And really into the spring is where you're going to notice the biggest benefits of leaving some cover on the land, because like this, look at the amount of grass that's still there. And there's some brown stuff in there, but there's also a lot of green. And so that's good forage right there. That's got more nutrients than any hay, I can guarantee that. This is the guy we plan on taking in. So he's at the point where he should be about as finished as he's gonna get. I'd say he's in pretty good shape. Something interesting for you guys to see. You can see where they were all laying last night. So they found probably the least windiest spot in the field, and they all just huddled up right there. And it looks like they had a good night keeping each other warm. And that'll be a huge nutrients area come next spring, where they've manured and urinated several times in one spot. So I'm sure that place is going to grow really well. All right, so the bulls, we need to bust some of that ice out of there. We're going to be putting in a tank heater for these bulls, and I already got it sitting here ready to go. That little coil will heat up and will keep their water above freezing. So what I've done is I've wrapped it around here so they can't pull it away or anything. I got extension cord going into this well house. And then I've got this plugged into one of these guys here. It's called a thermocube. What that does is it senses the temperature and won't let that thing just run non-stop. If the temperature gets up above a certain temperature outside, above 32 degrees, it's going to shut the power off going to that heater, so it's not just running all the time. And it's supposed to save a little bit on power. This well is a little old school. When we turn that on, we're going to fill up their water. They still had a little bit of water down in the bottom of their tank, but we're going to fill that up the rest of the way. Now that heater will keep their water from freezing, and we'll come down here once a day and fill up that tank. That's all it takes. They'll only drink that 40-gallon tank or something a day, or even less than that. So the bulls are taken care of for the winter. Man, it's warm in here actually. Need to build a little prop for this. It's a little bit nicer than this. You can see all of our well houses are all spray foam insulated. We got these big pressure tanks in here. It really allows us to have a lot of pressure with these. And this has got its own service and everything. So it's pretty fancy. I'm just gonna put a board in the corner here to hold this heat lamp. Doesn't need much. That way it's shining right on by the well tank. That thing will keep it very warm in here with this being all insulated like it is. You can see we insulated up the wall and below the concrete before I poured it as well. Put a lot of insulation around the pipes going up through the ground. This thing has never froze on us. So
silence I can't stand. The imprint of the maker is built within the blood. The hope before redemption.
Here, I'll hook this and we'll shut that off.
I brought you to the river. We baptized every step.
It's fine. Come on, girl. This is our cull cattle, Bandit. And that 412 up there is the one we're looking for. So we're taking a few more than what we need, but it's the way it's going to have to be. Come on. All right. Yeah, you need to hurry. I'll get this. hurry up, and if you can get ahead of us and just open everything up, we'll just keep moving. I would consider this a very successful, very low stress separation. Really, at no time was any cattle pushed, yelled at, bit at by dogs, ran down with a four-wheeler. And they're gonna go at the processor and they're gonna hang out for about 20 hours before they're dispatched. So very low stress, and that's the way we like to take the animals to processing. You know, they really had no idea what was coming. They were just walking with the rest of a herd, and very happy about that. We'll join these 4 heifers up with the rest of the herd. Actually, one of those are a cow, so cow and 3 heifers will join up with the rest of the herd. Allison has raced us over here with the buggy and has got the gate open, and as you can see, these cattle are grazing. They got some pretty good forage underneath all this snow. We're gonna get those cattle loaded up in the trailer, and I think we're gonna do some chores real quick so we don't have to worry about doing it when we come back from the processor, because that's about a 2.5 to 3 hour ordeal. Man, look at that, she's got some good forage she's hammering on there. Grazing right through the snow. Got some grass there that's 12 inches long. Feels good to be in conditions like this and still got grass for your cattle to be grazing. All right, we're hooked up to the cattle trailer. We're gonna load these cattle. Allison's hooked up to a bale with the gator. So once we get these cattle loaded, we're gonna roll out a bale so we don't have to worry about it when we come back. And although there is a lot of grass out here for them to graze on, like I said, we are giving them 1 bale a day, and we're still cutting our bale consumption in half pretty much. So my bale got shifted over to one side, so we'll see how well that works. How much of that nutrients we spread out all over the place, and they'll come through and they'll clean up the rest of this grass, As soon as they're done with that, they're gonna hit that first because it's the easiest. Sweet. See how spread out they are? Happy cows. We already filled up their water, so we're gonna grab a bale of hay for Bristol, the horse, and feed this core here to the bulls, and then we'll be on our way to peace packing. See how that heater's doing I put in their tank. Oh, really? I think they're just laying in this hay here, but the hay mound. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. We just got the cattle dropped off at Pease Packing. We're on our way home and we're going to call it a night. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. God bless.
Peace and joy.